Angel fans, the Halos need to fill almost 1,500 innings pitched this season without Shohei Ohtani. So can our starting five help at all? They're going to have to. It's time for them to step up. Let's talk about it. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us. Be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more with FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, first off, we just want to say thank you to our everydayers who have made 2023 one of the most successful years we've had. We had such an increase in downloads and views and listeners, Mike. It's been awesome, and we appreciate you making us part of your day each and every day. A couple notes here. Of course, we dropped an episode Wednesday. Today is Thursday. We'll have a new episode for you Friday. Then we'll be back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting this upcoming week. Then we'll do that right up until spring training, where we'll switch back to 5 days a week. You get the Frisch Brothers all 5 days, all Monday through Friday. Second note, Mike, is that Locked On Angels has been nominated for Best Baseball Podcast by the Sports Podcast Awards for 2024. All you have to do is go to the link in our description, whether you're watching or listening, and give us your vote. We'd love to have your vote. That would really mean a lot to Mike and I. And certainly the best way that you can help us out is by giving us that vote for the Best Baseball Podcast. We're up against some heavy hitters too, so that would be that'd be pretty great. Hey, on today's show, the Angels are going to be asking a lot of their rotation as it currently stands. So how many innings is the starting five going to need to cover, and can they even do it? Well, we're going to take a look at the Angels starting rotation, look at their career highs and how much of a season their career highs would cover. And we'll also take a look at some possible starting pitchers who could help the Halos in this department. But first, Mike, let's take a look at some of the pitchers from Halo history and also some current MLB pitchers and see how many years it took them to reach 200 innings in a season. We know that 200 innings by today's standards is really decent. Now,
miraculous.
Right? Looking back at some of these starters, man, they were firing on all cylinders back in the day. And when you have 1,458 innings to cover in a year, you're going to want a lot out of your starters. Mike, why don't you start with my favorite Angel of all time, Jared Weaver?
Ding! There it is. Okay, Johnny. So Jared Weaver got to 200 innings pitch in year 4. So started pitching in 2006, 19 starts, 123 innings. 2007 had 28 starts and 161 innings pitched. 2008, that was 2007. 2008 had 30 starts, 176 and 2/3 innings pitched. Then in 2009, 33 starts and had 211 innings pitched.
Wow.
And then he just started to crank out the innings after that. 2010, he was 224 and 1/3 innings pitched in 34 starts, the most in the American League. Then 2011, which, by the way, he was second in the Cy Young voting. He had 33 starts and 235 and 2/3 innings pitched. And then 2012 was still a great season, 30 starts with 188 and 2/3 innings pitched. So it took him 4 years to reach the 200 inning plateau.
Do you know who he was behind in Cy Young voting that year in 2011?
Was it Verlander?
It was Verlander.
It was Verlander.
And Verlander was also the AL MVP that year. So
yeah,
insane starting pitching like a decade ago, man.
Right.
Garrett Richards is another one, Mike. He got there in year 4, and he probably could have done it barring the injury that he suffered. So he didn't actually get to 200 in year 4, but he probably would have gotten there. In fact, in 2011, he only had 3 starts and 14 innings pitched, and he had a lot of those in relief. because he had 7 games that year. But by 2014, he had 26 starts and 168 and 2/3 innings pitched. And he averaged about 36 innings in those 4 months. So he likely would have been over 200 innings if he had not been injured. So again, Garrett Richards also could have gotten there in year 4.
What could have been with Garrett Richards? My. And then there's Irvin Santana, another great pitcher in Angels history. It was in year 2 that he got to 200 innings pitched. But Johnny, he hit his stride in year 4 because in year 4, 32 starts, 219 innings pitched. And this guy in let's see, that's 7 years. He had 1, 2, 3, 4 of those 7 years. He hit 200 plus innings pitched. Where are these guys now?
No
right?
kidding, man.
We want these guys back. So that's where Irvin stood in his career with the Angels.
Is it reasonable, Mike, based on what we've seen so far, to expect year 4 to be the year that young starters can begin to hit 200 plus innings? Well, it's a very different era of baseball these days. I mean, the Cy Young winner in the National League, Blake Snell, had, 12 out of 27 starts or somewhere around, I've said it a million times and I'm not remembering, but 6+ innings is really hard for him to do. And he won the Cy Young because he pitched really well. It's a different era these days and different from when Irvin Santana and Jared Weaver were doing it, and even different from Garrett Richards just 10 years ago. So that being said, let's look at some of the top 5 innings guys from 2023. Why don't you start us out with Logan Webb of the Giants?
Yeah, he's on the Giants, 216 innings pitched. He got to 192 and a third innings pitched in year 4. Zach Gallen is somebody who's been great, and last year was great with the Diamondbacks, 210 innings pitched last year. In year 4, Johnny, 184 innings pitched. And then, of course, Garrett Cole, almost former Angel. He's with the Yankees right now, 209 innings pitched last year. Got to 208 in year 3. And also pitched 200 innings in years 5, 6, and 7.
And then Miles Michaelis of the St. Louis Cardinals was number 4 this year with 201 and 1/3 innings pitched. He got to 200 innings pitched in year 4, but then from 2015 to 2017, he actually wasn't in the majors, Mike. And so he's really had a nice resurgence with the St. Louis Cardinals. And then finally, number 5 was Chris Bassett of the Blue Jays. He got to 200 innings exactly this year, and that was the first time in his 9-year career that he's ever actually gotten to 200 innings. Now, for reference, the bottom of the top 10 innings guys, we just gave you the top 5. Now, if you want to look at number 10, it was actually a tie between Aaron Nola and Corbin Burns, who each had 193 and 2/3 innings pitched. So that begs the question, if some of the best starters in baseball today are barely scratching the surface of 190 innings like Burns and Nola, what does that mean for the Angels starters when the highest number of innings pitched last year was from Reed Detmers with 148 and 2/3 innings pitched? Mike, I know that 200 is asking a lot, but it looks like a lot of these guys who got to 200 in year 4 were around like 180 the year prior, or their year 4 was like 180. So what does that mean for the Halo starters?
Well, I think one thing is that they're going to a 5-man rotation. All indications are they're not going to have 6 people starting, right? So that'll give them a few more starts, which will give them a few more innings. I think second, and Barry Enright's really emphasized this, is let's throw some strikes, guys. Let's go after what we need to go after and stop messing around. And this team really struggled with 0-2 and 1-2, and even struggled with getting first pitch strikes. And Barry Enright is somebody who preaches that over and over and over again. So, Johnny, I don't think it would be unreasonable to see Reed Detmers go from 148 last year to 184 this year. I could see him adding 40 extra innings, and that maybe is 1 extra inning a start, right? And he's going to have maybe 4 or 5 more starts. I can see Reed Detmers going deep into games if he buys into the philosophy that Barry Enright is selling. If he doesn't, then I could see these guys really struggling. And this might be one of the solutions to what do we do about the bullpen? I get that you need good bullpen arms, but if these starters can go a bit deeper into games, maybe go 6 innings instead of 5 innings, because it seemed like last year 5 innings was really pushing it for them. If they can go 6 innings, I think that could be a game changer for this team. And so it might be a stretch to get to 180 for Reed Detmers, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think that if this guy is focused and buying into the philosophy that Barry Enright's bringing, that he could achieve that. Do you agree?
Well, it all depends on how they execute during the game, because like you said, you get to 0-2 and then you throw 3 pitches outside the zone. Suddenly you're at 3-2, and there you have a 5-pitch at bat, or, if they fouled off a couple of pitches. We did that segment a couple of weeks ago where it was like, man, what's going on with our starters? And it was like foul ball, foul ball. Like we were talking about pitch efficiency.
Yep.
And I think Barry Enright's going to come in with the attitude of, hey, you take your best pitch, you strike that guy out.
Yep.
And I hope that that's a philosophy that really sinks in for the Halos. Now they have to prove it out there on the field. Like that's not something we can guarantee here. But if their attack approach changes from the way it was last year, where they were very aimless and directionless with Matt Wise, I think that they could benefit from that and be able to eat some more innings, right?
Yeah, and Barry Enright has said, don't show your best stuff early. Save that, which is why I think that they could add an inning or two to what they're doing and what they're producing. And if you can get these guys to maybe take that extra inning, I think it could be huge for this team. Somebody that I don't think is unreasonable at all to add innings to his innings pitched this year is Griffin Canning, because he's somebody who had some bad innings, but he hung in there and he fought through it. And so if they could buy into that mentality, I think that we could see these guys really grow in year 4 or year 5, wherever they find themselves, and get close to that 180, 200 innings pitch mark.
It seems like yesteryear's 200 innings is this current age's 180 innings.
Yes.
Does that sound fair?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I don't think it's unreasonable to, one, expect these guys to get to 180. Now, whether they get there or not is a different story. But if I'm Ron Washington, like, I'm pushing these guys. I'm pushing them to eat the innings that they need to be eating.
Do you think, Johnny, with Ron Washington coming in, do you think that pitch count is going to be a bit laxed or a bit eased with this team, simply because he wants those guys to grind it out? Because didn't it feel like either the Angels pitchers were at 100,000 pitches in the 5th inning, or that they you're at 85 in the 6th inning. Let's pull him because it felt like those were the narratives, instead of look at him go, let him run.
That has everything to do with how does this guy do through the order a 3rd or a 4th time, and that's very analytical.
Yep.
And I know that Wash is good with that kind of stuff, but I also think and hope that the old school mentality takes over there. And it's like, no, let this guy cruise. Like, he can get through the order a 4th time. That, like, he's fine. He's at 87 pitches. Like, give him an extra inning or whatever it takes. I think that's what it comes down to, and why they had been so sensitive about pitch count last season. Hey, we appreciate you making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're just getting started here. Coming up on Locked On Angels, can their current rotation meet the number of innings that they need to pitch in 2024? We're going to take a look at their career highs in innings pitched, and then take a look at the projected innings that they could get over 162 if they made all of their starts. We're going to find out if that's enough to meet the demand, coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, and now is one of the best times to get in on all of the action with FanDuel. They're America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. So you don't have to pick the right team. You can lose.
You just got to make the bet.
You just got to make the bet.
You just got to show up to the dance, baby.
That's all you got to do. App is so easy to use, and there's many different ways to bet, like the same game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab, or you can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. It's the best way and most popular parlay on FanDuel right now. And there's so many other options as well. You should check it out. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet. Again, $5, win or lose. You get $150 in bonus bets. You can't lose, right? That's awesome. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. And remember that FanDuel is the official betting partner of the NFL.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Hey, everydayers, Locked On Podcast Network has launched the very first 24/7 national sports streaming channel on YouTube. Just head on over to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, where they are covering the top stories in sports 24/7 with the local experts of Locked On, plus all the national shows like Locked On MLB, Locked On NFL, and much, much more. So head on over to Locked On Sports Today, hit subscribe, and be the first to join and in on the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
Johnny, the question really is, can the Angels starters meet the needs of all of the innings that they're going to have to fulfill, right? So let's preface this conversation with the fact that the same 5 guys are not going to be the same 5 that we run out there every single day.
Right.
That's unrealistic, right? But for simplicity's sake, we're going to talk in terms of the expected 5-man rotation the Angels are going with in 2024. So let's take a look at the Angels rotation as it stands right now. Remember, right now. That's key, right? So when we talk about innings pitch from 2023, keep in mind that Ohtani being in the rotation required a 6th day or a 6th starter. That's fun to say. So the amount of innings that went around was a bit more limited. So Johnny, why don't you start with your favorite Angel pitcher, Tyler Anderson?
Get out of here. There's no bell for Tyler Anderson. Not like we've. Mike, his career high was 178 2/3 innings pitched with the Dodgers in 2022. Now, I can already hear people saying, well, the Dodgers obviously have a pitching lab, and that was Tyler Anderson's best year, and then we signed him, and he sucked. Well, before we get to that, he had 32 starts with the Rockies in 2018, where he had 176 innings pitched. 2018 was his 3rd season in the bigs, by the way, so he had a pretty good 3rd year in terms of eating up those innings. In 2023, Mike, he threw 141 innings pitched in 25 starts. Now, Baseball Reference says that based on his previous seasons and his previous performance, if he were to pitch over a 162-game average and make all the starts he should make and be there for all the things he should be able to do, he would hit about 189 innings pitched.
Wow.
Because he's been a durable starter and somebody that you can rely on, not injured very often. So if he were to make every start and stay healthy, you could expect Tyler Anderson to go for about 189 innings pitched, according to the 162 average from Baseball Reference.
Let me talk about my actual favorite pitcher, and that is Reed Detmers. He had 148 2/3 innings pitched last year. This year is going to be year 4 in 2024. Baseball Reference says that based on his previous performance over the last 3 seasons, Detmers would hit about 175 innings pitched over 162 game average if he were to make every start and stay healthy. And again, that's the key. Every start and staying healthy.
Right. And again, we're not expecting that because the same 5 guys are not making the same 5 starts every 5 days, right?
Right.
In a regular season. Now, Patrick Sandoval, funny enough, he had the same amount of innings in 2022 as Detmers did in 2023 with a career high of 148 2/3 innings pitched. Sandoval's going into year 6 in 2024. Last year, he threw 144 2/3 innings, so right about where his career high was. Now, if Baseball Reference says if he were to perform the way that he's expected to over the last 5 seasons, he'd hit about 177 innings pitched over a 162 game average.
Griffin Canning had a career high 127 innings pitched last season. This is going to be year 5 in 2024. Baseball Reference says that over a 162 game average, he would hit about 176 innings pitched based upon his last 4 seasons. Again, staying healthy and making every start.
You mentioned him last segment and how he could eat a lot of innings, but health has been his issue. And he even had some time, with the oblique issue like everyone else did this year. So
the whole world.
Canning's got to be able to stay healthy. Now, Chase Silseth obviously has a low career high because last year was his first time taking a lot of turns in the rotation. It was 52 1/3 innings pitched last year. He'll be entering year 3 in 2024. Now, of note, Mike, he did throw 97 innings in college in 2021, and then he also threw 83 innings for the Trash Pandas in 2022. So he does have a track record of being able to throw, a decent amount of innings. Now, if he were to have that 162 average, he'd hit about 145 innings pitched over the season. Now, remember that the full season of 162 games has 1,458 innings to cover. 67% of 1,458 is about 977 innings, and that equates to about 6 innings per start. So if we're purely talking about these 5 guys making 6 inning starts, that means the starters would need to combine for about 977 innings, and that breaks down to about 196 innings for each of these guys. It also means that the bullpen would have to cover about 481 innings. So where does the Angels rotation stand in terms of their career highs and how much they're able to cover in a season? Well, each Angels starter career high adds up to 655 innings pitched. That's 322 innings short of the 977 that they would need. Mike, that's about 45% of the season and 22% less than what the Angels would need out of their starter. Now, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that that's accurate, because Silseth's career high was not exactly a true career high, because he didn't get in as a starter until halfway through the season. So rather than going off that, let's take a look at where the rotation would end up in terms of innings pitched if we go off Baseball Reference's projected 162 game average. What does that say, Mike?
Okay, so each Angels starter's 162 game average adds up to 862 innings pitched. That's 115 innings short of 977. That's a little over 59% of the season, 8% less than what the Angels would need from their starters. So that would mean that the bullpen would have to cover almost 600 innings pitched, Johnny. That's a lot of innings pitched for that bullpen.
So what does all of this mean? Well, the projected innings pitched for each starter, according to Baseball Reference, shows that the 5-man rotation, as it stands, falls 115 innings short of their fair share of the season, like the 6 inning starts from each of these 5 guys. Now, because they fall short of 977, each of the 5 starters would need to pick up about an extra 23 innings above their projected innings pitched. Now, remember, 977 innings is 6 innings per start per pitcher. So that's not an outlandish number or an unreasonable expectation. 23 innings per starter is about 4 more starts per pitcher if we go off a 6-inning start. So that would be 32, 33 starts per guy. And with Ohtani in a 6-man rotation, the expectation for those guys last year was like 27 starts. So if they're able to add 5 to 6 more starts, that would actually get them there. So Mike, as it stands, the current Angels rotation, can they manage 5 to 6 extra starts each this year? What do you think?
Well, a couple thoughts. Silseth is still very young, and so that might be a lot to ask of him, although I'm a big fan of his, and so I'd love to see that Bulldog go and Bulldog, right? Detmer and Sandoval haven't had to start that many games before, so there's obviously a big question there. And then Canning with his health issues, obviously expecting the same 5 guys to make all of their starts is not realistic, because injuries are going to happen. Guys are going to miss starts. Davis Daniels available. We're a huge fan. We'd love to see him start maybe 3 or 4 games, right? Kenny Rosenberg is available as well. We're big fans of his. But all of that being said, Detmers, Canning, and Sandoval are all at year 4 or higher. And so this could be the year for them to really go deep. And Johnny, I'd even go out on a limb and say, if these starters get to 30 starts, all 5 of these guys, I think that the Angels are competitive. I think they're in that race, at least for the 3rd wild card spot. I know, sorry, no expectations. But if they're doing that well and they're pitching that much, I think that we're going to see some plus from them, not some negative. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, if you go back and look at like where Reed Detmers was in terms of the 148 and 2/3 innings pitched, like that was the highest the Angels had last season. Adding in 5 or 6 more starts and getting them closer to 200. I mean, you have to do it. And these guys have been around long enough to get that extra mileage. And so for me, it's a matter of, well, can they do it? Maybe, but like, should they try to do it? Absolutely. It's time for these guys to step up and really show the world that, like, you're a starter in a starting rotation that's 5 guys, and you got to take your turn every 5th day. Now, again, it's unrealistic to expect them to do that all the time, but at the same time, these guys want to step up, and this is the year to do that. I think that the Angels should expect a lot out of their starting 5 this season.
What's real and what's ideal is really the tension between what the Angels starters can do and what they will do, right? So let's talk about some of the arms that could potentially help the Angels fill in the innings that maybe their starters aren't able to fill in. So here's some in-house options, Johnny. Of course, Kenny Rosenberg, he had a pretty good year last year. He was 2-1 as a starter with a 2.25 ERA and 16 innings pitched. Obviously, Jose Suarez is out there, and he has 58 career starts. He's 15-25 with a 5.69 ERA and almost 270 innings pitched. And then Davis Daniel, I mentioned him. He didn't start last year, but he did pitch in long relief. He was 1-1 with a 2.19 ERA and 12 1/3 innings pitched. So those are some of the in-house options for the Angels.
Yeah, guys that they already have and are available to them right now. Mike, we got into this a little bit yesterday because we were talking about Zach Plesac and why the Angels went ahead and signed him. Now, before I wrote, or no, I should say, I wrote this outline and these notes before Plesac even got signed. I wrote this Friday morning of last week.
Before Giolito got signed, Flexen got signed, and Plesac. They were all in your notes, and we had to take them out.
Yeah. And what I'm getting at here is that the Angels could look at some guys to bring in on a minor league deal. Now, previously, I had Plesac on here as a minor league deal. And the reason why is because he can give you 5+ innings. And I thought that maybe a minor league deal would be good for him to get right again. And you know, we talked about it yesterday. He looked like a stud for the Guardians when he started his career. And then he just has been below average and much worse since 2021.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen a minor league deal, Mike. But as we talked about, it seems like it's really competitive out there. And so the Angels probably had to add some incentive to give him a major league deal. The good news is that he has options, so they can ship him between AAA and the majors at least 2 times this season. And so if he needs to come up and eat some innings, he is available to do that. Another guy I had on there was Chris Flexen, who just signed a major league deal for 1 year with the White Sox, who was an absolute stud for the Mariners early in his career and would just kill the Angels every time we faced him. He would be flexing on us all day long whenever he started against us. But again, I was like thinking, hey, minor league deal for a guy who needs a bounce back season. Why not Chris Flexen? Well, he got a major league deal. Maybe the White Sox and the Angels are not so different at the end of the day, which is a scary thought, right, Mike?
Right.
So Flexen was another guy I had on there because I thought he could use a bounce back season. He could use a minor league deal to show other teams that he's still valuable, and he would have eaten a lot of innings for the Angels. But again, he's going to be a major league pitcher, and it sounds like he's going to figure into the White Sox rotation. So at least we have that going for us. Our gamble is not going to get a guaranteed spot in the rotation in Zach Plesac. Finally, Mike, I mentioned Jonathan Diaz, who was granted free agency from the Angels, but we're very familiar with him because he's had starting experience. He's got familiarity with the Angels, and he has started with them before. I think that you could re-sign him to a minor league deal and then be able to bring him up when you need a starter to kind of eat some innings for you, or even bring up as like a long relief guy. But again, these are just guys on minor league deals that I would have liked to have seen come back to the Angels so that you can ship them between AA or AAA and the majors.
Bottom line is that you want pitchers that aren't just going to eat up innings, but are going to be effective. And that's why the free agents out there are free agents that we as Angel fans have really wanted the Angels to go and get, like Jordan Montgomery, who last season pitched 188 2/3 innings pitched. He was 17th in baseball because of that. And Baseball Reference says that he would average 183 innings pitched over 162 games. Of course, Blake Snell is out there. He was the Cy Young Award winner last year. He only pitched in 180 innings, which we're talking about being maybe the new 200 inning mark. Most of his good years, he's been around 128, 130 innings, and here's the note I think that you were trying to remember.
This is
right?
it. Yes.
Yeah. He had 6+ innings in 20 of his 32 starts in 2023, and then 6+ in 11 of his 22 in 2022. 6+ in 7 of the 27 and 21, and then 6+ in 11 of the 23 and 2019. So him going deep into games is not something that he's done. He's been effective when he's in there, But he is somebody who has admitted that he is a swing and a miss guy. He's going to throw a lot of pitches, and he'll have a lot of people on base, but he'll be able to get them out. Baseball Reference says that he would average 177 innings pitched over 162 games spanned.
Somebody who's really interesting that has actually been connected to the Angels is Shota Imanaga from Japan, Mike. Most recently, he threw 159 innings pitched in 2023, but he did throw 170 innings as recently as 2019. So that's another starting option who would make this team better and give you a lot of innings. Now, I know that Japanese pitchers, they throw a lot of innings sometimes.
They do.
And they do it at a very young age. And Shota, I believe, is around 30 now. And so he does have some mileage, but in terms of a good starter who makes this team better, I think he's one of them. And then finally, Mike, I kind of threw this in as a wild card, but Brandon Woodruff, who's not going to pitch again in 2024, his agent says the doctors say his shoulder looks great for his shoulder surgery, but beyond 2024, he's a mystery. Now, he did throw almost 180 innings in 2021, and Baseball Reference says he would average about 189 innings over 162 games. So there's some options for you that are out there in terms of getting innings on this team and helping this starting rotation cover all 1,458 innings in a season.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Everydayers, remember that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. You can go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
67% of the season is 5 guys throwing 6 innings plus each year. That's crazy. And most guys can't even do that. So hopefully we see a change there. Hey, we really appreciate you making Locked On Angels your first listen today. Give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. We have the voting for Best Baseball Podcast. That link is in the episode description, whether you're watching or listening. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Johnny, how about a GM redo?
Redux.
We sat in the chair and we were GM and we picked who we're going to pick. Let's do that again with the free agent crop as is right now. We're going to talk about who we would sign. And here's the caveat this time. It doesn't matter if we sign the same guys. We're just going to look at the guys that are out there and we're going to pick those guys and we're going to see how we're going to build our team. So John will take a segment. I'll take a segment. Then we'll respond. And we would love your responses tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that you and I picked are signed and on other teams. So we got to redo this one for sure. All right, friends, until tomorrow's show, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.
GM Redo, Part 2.
Part 2.